Hey, hello. Here we go for some more of our reading of The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Easy for me to say. Hey. Tonight we're reading chapter 16. It won't, said Mary. Get yourselves comfy. Get your little snack. Get your little drink. Big snack, big drink, depending on how you're feeling. See ya in half of a second. They found a great deal to do that morning, and Mary was late in returning to the house and was also in such a hurry to get back to her work that she quite forgot Colin until the last moment. Tell Colin that I can't come and see him just yet, said she. Hang on, Mr. S. You've pre-read it wrong there. Tell Colin I can't come and see him just yet, she said to Martha. I'm very busy in the garden. Martha looked rather frightened. Hey, Miss Mary, she said. It may put him all out of humour if I tell him that. But Mary was not afraid of him as other people were, and she was not a self-sacrificing person. I can't stay. Dickon's waiting for me. And she ran away. The afternoon was even lovelier and busier than the morning had been. Already nearly all the weeds were cleared out of the garden, and most of the roses and trees had been pruned or dug about. Dickon had brought a spade of his own, and had taught Mary to use all her tools, so that by this time it was plain that though the lovely wild place was not likely to become a gardener's garden, it would be a wilderness of growing things before the springtime was over. There'll be apple blossoms and cherry blossoms overhead, Dickon said, working away with all his might. And there'll be peach and plum trees bloom against the walls. And the grass, it'll be a carpet of flowers. The little fox and the rook were as happy and busy as they were, and the robin and his mate flew backwards and forwards like tiny streaks of lightning. Sometimes the rook flapped his wings back and soared way over the treetops into the park. Each time he came back and perched near Dickon and cawed several times as if he were relating his adventures, and Dickon talked to him just as he had talked to the robin. Once when Dickon was so busy that he did not answer him at first, Soot flew onto his shoulder and gently tweaked his ear with his large beak. When Mary wanted to rest a little, Dickon sat down with her under a tree, and once he took his pipe out of his pocket and played the soft, strange little notes, and 2 squirrels appeared on the wall and looked and listened. That were a good bit stronger than thou was. Not doing very well with this Yorkshire dialect tonight, am I? Try it again, Mr. S. Thou's a good bit stronger than thou was, Dickon said, looking at her as she was digging. Thou's beginning to look different, for sure. Mary was glowing with exercise and good spirits. I'm getting fatter every day, she said quite exultantly. Mrs. Medlock will have to get me some bigger dresses. Martha says my hair is growing thicker. It isn't so flat and stringy. The sun was beginning to set and sending deep gold-coloured rays slanting under the trees when they parted. It'll be a fine day tomorrow. I'll be at work by sunrise. So will I, said Mary. She ran back to the house as quickly as her feet would carry her. She wanted to tell Colin about Dickon's fox cub and the rook and what about the springtime had been doing. She felt sure he would like to hear it. So it was not very pleasant when she opened the door of her room to see Martha standing waiting for her with a doleful face. What's the matter? What did Colin say when you told him I couldn't come? I wish tha'd gone. He were nigh going into one of his tantrums. It's been a nice to do all afternoon to keep him quiet. He'd watch the clock all time. Mary's lips pinched themselves together. She was no more used to considering other people than Colin was, and she saw no reason why an ill-tempered boy should interfere with the thing she liked best. She knew nothing about the pitifulness of people who had been ill and nervous, and he did not know that they could control their tempers and need not make other people ill and nervous too. Raised eyebrows at that bit. When she had had a headache in India, she had done her best to see that everybody else also had a headache or something quite as bad, and she felt she was quite right. But of course, now she felt that Colin was quite wrong. He was not on his sofa when she went into his room. He was lying flat on his back in bed, and he did not turn his head toward her as she came in. This was a bad beginning, and Mary marched up to him with her stiff manner. "Why didn't you get up?" she said. "I did get up this morning when I thought you were coming," he answered without looking at her. "I made them put me in bed this afternoon. My back ached and my head ached, and I was tired. Why didn't you come?" "I was working in the garden with Dickon." Colin frowned and condescended to look at her. "I won't let that boy come here if you go and stay with him instead of coming to talk to me." Mary flew into a fine passion. She could fly into a passion without making a noise. She just grew sour and obstinate and did not care what happened. "If you send Dickon away, I will never come into this room again." "You will have to if I want you to," said Colin. "I won't," said Mary. "I'll make you. They shall drag you in." "Shall they, Mr. Rajah?" said Mary fiercely. "They may drag me in, but they can't make me talk when they get me here. I'll sit and clench my teeth and never tell you one thing. I won't even look at you. I'll stare at the floor." They were a nice, agreeable pair as they glared at each other. If they'd been two little street boys, they would have sprung at each other and had a rough and tumble fight. As it was, they did the next thing to it. "You are a selfish thing," cried Colin. "What are you?" said Mary. "Selfish people always say that. Anyone is selfish who doesn't do what they want. You are more selfish than I am. You are the most selfish boy I ever saw." "I am not," snapped Colin. "I'm not as selfish as your fine Dickon is. He keeps you playing in the dirt when he knows I'm all by myself. He's selfish, if you like." Mary's eyes flashed fire. "He is nicer than any other boy that ever lived. He's like an angel." It might sound rather silly to say that, but she didn't care. "A nice angel," Colin sneered ferociously. "He's a common cottage boy off the moor." "He's better than a common Rajah. He's 1,000 times better," retorted Mary. Because she was the stronger of the two, she was beginning to get the better of him. The truth was that he had never had a fight with anyone like himself in his life, and, upon the whole, it was rather good for him, though neither he nor Mary knew anything about that. He turned his head on the pillow and shut his eyes, and a big tear was squeezed out and ran down his cheek. He was beginning to feel pathetic and sorry for himself, not for anyone else. "I'm not as selfish as you, because I'm always ill, and I'm sure there is a lump coming on my back," he said. "And I'm going to die besides." "You're not," contradicted Mary unsympathetically. He opened his eyes quite wide with indignation. He'd never heard such a thing said before. He was at once furious and slightly pleased, if a person could be both at the same time. "I'm not," he cried. "I am. You know I am. Everybody says I am." "I don't believe it," said Mary sourly. "You just say that to make people sorry. I believe you are proud of it. I don't believe it. If you were such a nice boy, it might be true, but you're way too nasty." In spite of his invalid back, Colin sat up in bed in quite a healthy rage. "Get out of my room," he shouted, and he caught hold of his pillow and he threw it at her. He was not strong enough to throw it far, and it only fell at her feet, but Mary's face looked as pinched as a nutcracker. "I'm going," she said, "and I won't come back." She walked to the door, and when she reached it, she turned around and spoke again. "I was going to tell you all sorts of nice things. Dickon brought his fox and his rook, and I was going to tell you all about them. Now, I won't tell you a single thing." She marched out of the door and closed it behind her. And there, to her great astonishment, she found the trained nurse standing as if she had been listening, and, more amazingly still, she was laughing. She was a big, handsome young woman who ought not to have been a trained nurse at all, as she could not bear invalids, and she was always making excuses to leave Colin to Martha or anyone else who would take her place. Mary had never liked her, and she simply stood and gazed up at her as she stood giggling into her handkerchief. "What are you laughing at?" she asked her. "At you two young ones," said the nurse. "It's the best thing that could happen to the sickly, pampered thing to have someone to stand up to him that's as spoiled as himself." And then she laughed into her handkerchief again. "If he'd had a young vixen of a sister to fight with, it would have been the saving of him." "Is he going to die?" "I don't know, and I don't care. Hysterics and temper are what ails him." "What are hysterics?" asked Mary. "You'll find out if you work him into a tantrum after this, but at any rate, you've given him something to have hysterics about, and I'm glad of it." Mary went back to her room, not feeling at all as she had felt when she had come in from the garden. She was cross and disappointed, but not at all sorry for Colin. She had looked forward to telling him a great many things, and she would meant to try and make up her mind whether it would be safe to trust him with the great secret. She had been beginning to think it would be, but now she had changed her mind completely. She would never tell him, and he could stay in his room and never get any fresh air, and he could die if he liked. It'd serve him right. She felt so sour and unrelenting that for a few minutes she almost forgot about Dickon and the great green veil creeping over the world and the soft wind blowing down from the moor. Martha was waiting for her, and trouble in her face had been temporarily replaced by interest and curiosity. There was a wooden box on the table, and its cover had been removed and revealed that it was full of neat packages. "Mr. Craven sent it for you. It looks as if it's got picture books in it." Books. Mary remembered what he had asked her the day she'd gone to his room. Do you want anything? Dolls, toys, books?" She opened the package wondering if he had sent a doll, and also wondering what she should do with it if he had. But he hadn't sent one. There were several beautiful books such as Colin had, and 2 of them were about gardens and full of pictures. There were 2 or 3 games, and there was a beautiful little writing case with a gold monogram on it and a gold pen and inkstand. Everything was so nice that her pleasure began to crowd her anger out of her mind. She had not expected him to remember her at all, and her hard little heart grew quite warm. "I can write better than I can print, and the first thing," she said, "I shall write with the pen will be a letter to tell him I am much obliged." If she'd been friends with Colin, she would have run to show him her presents at once, and they would have looked at the pictures and read some of the gardening books and perhaps tried playing the games, and he would have enjoyed himself so much he would never once have thought he was going to die or have put his hand on his spine to see if there was a lump coming. He had a way of doing that which she could not bear. It gave her an uncomfortable, frightened feeling because he always looked so frightened himself. He said that if he felt even quite a little bump some day, he should know his hunch had begun to grow. Something he'd heard Mrs. Medlock whispering to the nurse had given him the idea, and he had thought it over in secret until it was quite firmly fixed in his mind. Mrs. Medlock had said his father's back had begun to show its crookedness in the same way when he was a child. He'd never told anyone but Mary that most of his tantrums, as they called them, grew out of his hysterical hidden fear. Mary had been sorry for him when he had told her. He always began to think about it when he was cross or tired, and he has been cross today. Perhaps he's been thinking about it all the afternoon. She stood still, looking down at the carpet and thinking. I said I would never go back again, but perhaps, just perhaps, I will go and see if he wants me in the morning. Perhaps he'll try to throw his pillow at me again, but I think I'll go. There you go. That was that chapter. Next chapter, I forget the number of the next chapter. Let's have a little look. 17. Chapter 17 is called A Tantrum. Uh-oh. I wonder who's going to throw the tantrum. Is it going to be Colin? Is it going to be Mary? Or is it going to be Dickon? Excuse me, that whole time you might have seen that my eye was a little bit red. This one, can you see? I've got got a bit of poorly skin going on, and I had to put some oil on it today, darling. And core is running into my eye. This isn't conducive of healthy skin, good skin, bad eye. Gosh, I'll be like a pirate afterwards, won't I? Anyway, so I haven't been here for about 4 days now because, if you remember, I had that exam the other day, didn't I? And so I've just been kind of finishing that up at work. Then I've been getting home and I've been, oh my goodness. Then, what did I do the other day? Something I did the other day, and I thought, oh, no, I'm not going to be able to get here again. I don't know, something in the evening anyway. And, I have, though, been chilling out on the sofa a lot, watching a lot of the old Bigfoot programs. Those people who have come with me from the old channel to this new channel know all about my passion for the old Bigfoot and all other things in that realm, can I just say. But I've been watching a lot of stuff about the old Bigfoot on YouTube recently. So yeah, I've been having a whale of a time, getting home from work, putting that on, loving it. And I will tell you this. So Floyd started doing some running. He was never interested in anything physically exercising. Watching wrestling, that was about it. Playing on his VR, that was about it. So he started doing the couch to 5k thing. Yesterday, he ran 20 minutes without stopping. That is some good stuff. Well done, Floyd. Well done. Phoebe's, what has Phoebe's done? She's been at work. So Phoebe's works with the very, very little children. And of course, when they first come to school, it is like trying to herd kittens into a box or something. An impossible job. It's like trying to catch fog with a sieve. It really is. So so she is feeling very tense at the moment because, of course, they're all about the me at that stage of their lives when they're only just 4 years old, and not about the we. So they don't really follow instruction as much as she would like them to. I'm lucky because I ain't in there anymore. I'm out of the class now. So that's what I've been doing, and that's what she's been doing. Blake, he's now got a job at university. So he used to have a job here, so he could only work when he came home for the holidays. But now he's got a job at university in a well-known set of golden arches. That's what he's doing. So, but he went back to university before my birthday, way before my birthday, before I even finished in the end of July for the summer holidays. So his summer holiday was like beginning of June to end of June, and he went back. He doesn't actually start studying until the 6th of October. Young love, that's what it is. Young love is up there, is not here. I don't know. And Bo, he's just started doing his GCSEs. So already he's got this mindset that if he starts revising now, even revising stuff that he hasn't learned yet, he'll just have a doddle when he gets to his GCSEs. So every night he's made himself a timetable already, a year and a half in advance. And every night he's been out there revising stuff. He's bought himself some books. He's researched stuff on the internet of what could possibly need to be studied on the syllabus that he's now starting. And he's revising it. So that's what he's doing. They're all busy letting me watch Bigfoot. Anyway, it's pouring down with rain and is disgusting outside today. It's kind of autumnal. Ooh. Whereas the other day, it was glorious sunshine. What's going on? Look, and I'm wearing a fleece inside. What's going on? And for the first time as well since about May, I am wearing longs. I've worn shorts all of this time. Back to trousers. Gosh. Anyway, I'll give you one of these. And lots of them appear. And I'll see you all on the next video.